then you want to instill confidence. That's this middle part where you're talking about why you guys are doing this, why you're the right organization, and create conviction in them. This is what the story is, and this is a really important project, so that they have the desire to take action in the end. Okay. Now, it sounds like a lot to put in one page, and you could do a case statement that's like 10 pages, but I'm saying you really, for my $5 million capital campaign, we did a one-page case statement. Remember the goal that I said. You want to use this for your messaging when you do all the other fundraising. So this is what I would suggest. A couple, 3 people having coffee at Starbucks or Pete's or wherever on a Sunday morning, talking about the case statement, using this information as a guide, okay? And I can provide you a little bit more guidance with some materials about how to put this together. But we're talking about 5 to 8 paragraphs on a page, maybe with a picture to excite you. You're not going to necessarily hand this to donors, but you want it to be something that is readable to all of your members, so that when they're out talking about this at their work to try to get people to come to an event, or when you're drumming up sponsors, you want to have something that's really that really excites you and that will excite other people. Okay? Should you identify your need on here? Your dollar need? Yeah. Yep. Yep. Okay. You want to say you're going to talk about the dollar need and why that need is there. That's this validating the need for philanthropy. We've got a budget, and the bottom line is $120,000 to complete the project. And here are the big chunks of where that's going, right? We need a contractor to drill the well. We need, to spend X number of thousands in pumps or whatever. I really don't know what I'm talking about, but you need these chunks of money, because that gives you credibility that you've got a plan. You want to really grab them emotionally, but the thinking part of your donor really wants to see that when they give this money, that you know what you're going to do with it. Okay. So this is something that I don't want you to labor over or get scared. I got scared when I saw how many words I put on this chart. But this is just from from material that I have on building a case statement. Okay, when I went to school, we talked about spending a month on a case statement. Well, that's if you're building a case statement for why your community center exists for the next 20 years, right? That's a case statement for the organization. We're talking about for a project, and a page is plenty. Okay. Any questions about this? At the end, I'm going to tell you that you can, for any of the things I'm talking to you about tonight, you can call me in and I'll volunteer to help sit down with you. So I'll come, you buy me a cup of coffee, and I'll sit with you at the coffee shop to talk about and lay this out and draft a case statement. Or if you want me to come and you decide to do a black tie gala and you've got an event committee together, I'll come and help them put that plan together, because we're not going to get to that detail tonight. Be thankful, because we don't have time.
One of the things that I get, when I'm talking to someone about our chapter and about our project, and like kind of trying to, like you said, generate excitement and interest in what's happening, one of the things that I always kind of get stuck on is, okay, so first I have to explain what Engineers Without Borders is, then I have to explain where Laguna de Apoyo is, and it's like by the time I've done that, the person's already asleep. Is that something that you want to, do you always sort of go through that, or do you kind of cut to the chase a little bit and skip over some of the
I would, if I were telling the story, I would start with what you're actually doing, which is getting right to the water. Hey, we should have recorded the session at the Emory in Ferndale where Brad was telling me about this project, because he got my attention and I'm here tonight, right? I spent hours on this presentation, and I think it's a very cool project. And he started with, you probably all know that safe drinking water is very important to Brad, right? He's into charity water, and he got to talking about this, and he started with arsenic in your drinking water. Last night he was telling me that rice can be a very bad thing for you. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to start growing my own rice.
Don't make any dietary decisions based on the information Brad gives.
You kind of start with a problem.
Okay.
And then you can talk about this is in, in Nicaragua. And you can have a map. People kind of know where Nicaragua is. I don't need to know where the community is in Nicaragua, so I don't necessarily need to see a map. But now I'm interested in hearing, wow, how did you find out this is a problem? And now maybe you're telling me a little bit more about EWB and how they pick projects all over the world, and that's kind of cool. And you guys zeroed in on this project because somebody grew up there and is part of your chapter, I don't know, or you were just looking at projects and you guys had expertise in this area, or you just wanted to spend some time in Central America, I don't know. So, but then you talk about what you did, then you start telling the story of, we sent a team of, how many people went down there?
Like 7.
7 people. Sent a team of 7 people down for X number of days. They worked with the community. The community is really involved and excited about this. So you kind of let the story spread out from there. But there's kind of a sequence that makes sense. But think about what is, I think it's important to start with the what and the why. We're doing this thing because there's this community that doesn't have access to water that isn't dangerous, and they don't have the resources or the expertise to do this themselves. And think of what are they missing? Why can't they do this themselves? I'm guessing it's they don't have the money and they don't have the know-how. And there might be a couple of other things that they don't have that prevents them from doing this themselves.
Okay.
And so that's also part of your case statement. So it's the so you keep coming back to why this project, why you guys are the right ones to do it, and why now. And we're gonna urgency is a big part of it.
Yeah.
We don't want people to be able to get away with well, I'll think about it. I mean, they're gonna think about it, but ultimately, if you've got them at an event, you need them to make a commitment now.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you're talking to them, it's better if you can get them to commit. So you want to have the right message to say to them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I'm thinking just play them in the video. Just play them in the video instead of, because that's going to summarize everything. So we're putting together a fundraising video, and the intent is to be able to put it out on the internet, pass it to friends and family. That way it saves you the trouble of having to go through the whole story, because we do. We talk about
What
who we
Dave's
are.
trying to create, though, is a tool that's like multifunctional. Not that you're just trying to fundraise with, though, but that you can use as a resource to generate all sorts of different initiatives. So if you have someone, we get Michael Cabrera to come to our fundraiser, and he needs to go stand up and say why he thinks it's so great to work with Central America and provide clean water. He reads this quick little information sheet. He can stand up in front of a crowd and generate the same kind of passion. You can put it in a mailer and send it as a mailer. You can, it's not just going to be a fundraising tool in itself like the video is. It's going to be a resource that helps essentially guide your whole fundraising goal for the project.
So it's kind of, I mean, if you think about like some of the script and like the list of questions and things, some of the stuff that we generated like before the video to kind of guide how the video is going to look. That's kind of, that sort of information is kind of what I see ending up sort of in this document.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm trying to think of, like, if there's a way, because I found that it's hard to explain to somebody without also losing their interest in only a couple of minutes. But if we had something we just here, just watch this, it tells you everything you need to know. And then it kind of does have the urgency in there, because we do talk about a timeline.
Yeah, I mean, but it's not, you're not always in a situation where you can show something.
No, you're not,
like if
no.
you're talking, if you're just talking to people one-on-one, which is kind of like what I was thinking. So.
The video definitely has its place. And you want to make sure that it has certain qualities too, that it, there's this balance between the intellectual and the emotional part of the donor, and you need them to be in line. So, a donor can read a brochure and get information about, oh, this is the budget, this is what you're doing, this is the timeline, but if it doesn't tell the stories that provide the emotional part, The emotional part being, look, these people are having to do X to get safe drinking water, or they just don't have access to it, and this is the problem it's causing. If you can balance those two, then that's when somebody pulls out their credit card and goes online and makes a donation. So both, you definitely want to go through this, I think. You want to spend some time on this so that everybody who's going out and responsible for, for putting the message out there, it has a compelling story to tell and is using consistent messaging. And a video can be an amazing thing during an event, if you do an event. Because think about it, we'll talk about it, but if you get into planning an event, there's going to be a point where somebody has to talk about an appeal to the audience to give, because you're going to ask them to give at multiple points during an event evening. And at some point, somebody's going to get up and talk to them and appeal to them, or you're going to play a video. And the good thing about a video is, I don't want to use the term manipulate, but you can really control the level of emotion, and you can control the length, so you don't have somebody talking for 20 minutes when you ask them to talk for 3. You don't have somebody speaking too quietly that they lose the crowd. You can turn up the volume on a video.
The
right?
video doesn't get nervous and forget their cue cards.
Exactly. You can put music in a video and use music to help propel emotion. You can control even the lighting. So there's, you have complete control, and it's a great way. I've been taught, and if you have me back to talk to a group that's planning an event, we'll talk about this, that the energy at an event has a bell curve, and we'll talk about what to do at different points of the bell curve. I was amazed when I listened to this woman who just does events. I didn't want to stay in the session and listen to her because I had nothing to do with events, but it was transformative for me. Just to listen to her talk about this energy curve at your fundraising event. It's very cool. I love the science behind fundraising. The art is scary for anybody, but what I learned is there's a good bit of science to it, and that can help make the art of it easier to deal with. So here's the second thing, and this is very short, that I want to just talk about. I take none of you do a significant amount of fundraising in your volunteer time, do you? Does anybody here? Would you like it? Are you looking forward to it? Are you looking forward to asking people to give money?
No.
It's really not a natural thing, and it's a cultural thing. In our culture, it's not polite to talk about money and how much you make. I mean, part of my job is to research what somebody's home is worth, right? I can do that. I don't do it, but I could go out and search public records and say, well, you've got a $5 million home in Florida and you can't give us $100,000. It's not in our DNA to want to do this. And so what happens is that comes across as being maybe a little bit embarrassed, or really nervous, or even apologetic. I'm really sorry I have to do this, but we need the money, or we can't do this project. And we never want to say, I'm sorry. So we want to banish these words when we're thinking about this, because this is a noble part of your project. It's as important as finding the right contractor to drill the well. I really need to learn more about this project so I can use different analogies.
Spot on.
But it's as important as any of the equipment that you have to procure, because without taking this step, you can't do the good that you want to do. So, when I started in this work, I went to a class and the faculty member said, we have the best profession in the world. We have the best jobs in the world, because what we do is we get to help people make their dreams come true. And that's the people who are giving money, because you're ultimately going to appeal to people who support this kind of work. People who really are into serving underserved communities in less resourceful countries, and want to help engage in public health issues, but don't want to go to Nicaragua. They're going to want to be part of this, and so they can be a part of your project, And so our job is to help them feel like they're part of it.